Now, unless you've been living under a rock for the last few months, I'm sure you have heard lots and lots of chatter online about different AI tools, and in particular, the one that seems to be the one that everyone's making the most noise about is Claude and Claude Code. Now, up until this point, I have always used ChatGPT in my business, and I've been using it for quite a long time for writing content for social media, for helping me to come up with ideas. I've also used it in the past for helping me to do different bits of coding on the websites that I build. This weekend, I actually looked at Claude Code. Obviously, because I'm a web designer and a web developer, Claude Code makes sense to me. In all honesty, for the first time in all of the years that I've been using AI, something seems to have made a massive difference this time round. And what I've discovered this weekend, while I've been playing around with Claude Code, is literally going to fundamentally change the way that I deliver my client projects and how I run my business, designing and building websites for small business owners. Now, this video isn't going to be a tutorial on how to use Claude or Claude Code, because there's already hundreds and hundreds of those out on the internet already. This is basically just going to be me talking through the reasons why and how Claude Code is going to fundamentally change the way that my business runs from this point forward. So I've been using lots of different AI tools now for the last couple of 3 years, mainly for doing things like writing content, helping me to come up with ideas, helping me to write content for websites, so the copywriting side of things. I actually build websites in a different way than what I always used to do beforehand, which is I use something called Oxygen Builder, which is a visual editor within inside WordPress. There is still coding that I do within that, but nowhere near as much as what I used to do before. And the reason why I moved over to using Oxygen rather than actually hard coding all of the websites that I was building was primarily due to the target audience that I was aiming for, which is small business owners. What I wanted to do was to be able to deliver amazing projects, amazingly designed websites, fantastically built websites, but in a faster and more efficient way. And the main reason for that has always been so I can help to keep the cost down as much as possible, so that I am able to help small business owners who don't necessarily have 10, 15, 20,000 pounds lying around for a website. And quite honestly, those people 9 times out of 10 don't actually need to be spending that type of money on a website anyway. I've always been excited by AI. Since the very beginning, when it first came out, when ChatGPT came out, it got me bubbling with excitement. Every new AI tool that I use and every one that I see that's coming out just gives me that same level of excitement as well. I got swept up in all of the chatter about Claude and Claude Code recently, and I decided to take the plunge away from primarily focusing my attention and use on ChatGPT and moving over now to have a look properly at Claude, and in particular Claude Code, because obviously that's what I do. I was skeptical at first as to whether Claude Code and Claude would be any better than what ChatGPT would be. I thought I'd give it a look, and over this weekend I've really sat down and I've really had a look at how I can get Claude into my actual workflow. And what I've found is going to fundamentally change the way that I do and run my business going forward from a project delivery sort of view. And the reason for that is because I have actually figured out how to fit Claude into my existing workflow. It's to custom build WordPress themes. And I've got it to work in a way where it's basically doing all of the work that I was doing, the hard coding of websites, the building the custom templates, but doing it, in all honesty, better and quicker than what I could do it manually, which is what's really got me excited. What it means is I can start looking back now at how I used to build websites when I was charging a hell of a lot more money for the websites because it took a lot more time. But now being in a position where Claude Code can take over that heavy lifting for me, and it can start to build and start to code the websites up exactly the same as I used to do before, but in a much quicker, in a much more efficient way, which means I can still continue to keep that cost down for my target audience. And this is what's getting me really, really, really excited, and more excited than I've ever been in a long time. I can see this being a tool that fits directly into my workflow and actually helps me to be able to deliver far better projects for my clients in a good enough time where I can keep the costs as low as possible too. What did I actually look at? The workflow that I was looking at was using a few various tools, and I'm not going to go too deep on this. I'm going to talk through the workflow. So effectively what I will be doing from now on is I will be using Figma for my design, which I've been using for quite a number of months now. And the good thing is that Claude Code can directly talk to Figma now. What I've got it to do is Claude Code is able to read the design, it's able to see the design, and then it's able to build the blocks, every single block that makes up the design, and it's doing it in an absolutely amazingly fantastic way. And like I said earlier, it's doing it in better code than what I could probably write myself. The code is clean, the code's tidy, it's done to really high standards, and it's done within a matter of minutes as well. So what I'm envisaging now is the fact that I will be able to go from the strategy and the messaging side of things. I'm able to take that from that stage to then create the design in a way that is then able to be coded up by using Claude Code and letting Claude Code take over and do all of the heavy lifting, so to speak, the bits of a project that actually take up the most time, which is the actual build of the website. And I'm envisaging this being able to work in a way where I can build websites in probably a matter of hours rather than a matter of days or weeks. So yeah, I'm massively excited by the prospects of what Claude Code can do and how it is going to massively change the way that my business runs from this point forward. It's going to allow me to spend more time on the strategy, more time on the messaging side of things, more time on the part of a project where this really comes into play, and then hand off a lot of the work to the AI agent, so to Claude Code, to then take that design and turn it into a fully functional working website. And I can see how this is going to make everything a lot more efficient, a lot more quicker, and ultimately that is going to help me to build better websites for my clients going forward, while still being able to keep that cost to the end consumer as low as possible, so I can obviously keep attracting the smaller businesses who don't necessarily have tens of thousands of pounds to spend on a website. I'm going to be doing more videos on how I'm using AI in my business to help me obviously get to the goals that I'm aiming for in my business. So keep an eye out for those. Subscribe to the channel if you want to keep an eye on what I'm doing with the business in terms of using AI and all this stuff as well. And other than that, I will see you on the next video. Ta-da!